Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And if you've been a long-time listener of this show, you'll recognize our guest. We have Ariel Rose back on the podcast, coming to us from Australia again. And honestly, she's had quite the year, which we will get into in a little bit. I was not that aware of it because she didn't really talk about too much. But yeah, we're gonna dig into it. This is a special podcast, so I'm just warning everyone ahead of time. Like, make sure to listen, extra careful with some of these, because I know some people, they just have this play in the background stuff, but this is one that you want to, listen to. But Ariel, thank you so much for coming back on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be back.
Absolutely. Well, I ask this question every time, no matter, the significance of the podcast or the guest. What is the weather like today?
It's actually really nice today. It's maybe 13 degrees outside, but it's still weather, so at least the sun's out, so it's good.
Nodding and pretending that I know what that is, because again, we do Fahrenheit here, so I have no idea. And when you're talking about kilograms, I just nod my head and I say, oh yeah, 59 kilograms, that's something right there. So
Right.
I'm going to have to look that stuff up and, get into that. But yeah, it is calm, cool, and breezy here. We are just about to enter the best time of the year here, fall, where, cool outside and hopefully most of the mosquitoes die. But before I get into that, Ariel, you have had quite the year. Why don't you just give a recap for us of what you've been up to since we had you on last May?
Yeah, so I have had, definitely quite the year. It's been more of a health journey for me rather than a bodybuilding journey. So back in November, I caught COVID, but I also copped streptococcus pneumonia. I think that's how you pronounce it. So I was terribly unwell, but I knew it was kind of temporary, but it kind of got to the point where I was so unwell that I didn't know what the next day would bring. I was in hospital for 2 weeks. It was definitely, it felt like 2 days, but it's really good that my health is back in check and, I'm able to do daily things. So that's kind of my main focus this year, is just to focus on my health, my well-being, and I guess grow some nice quality size.
How do you deal with the mental side of when you were talking to me before we started recording? You said you were 59 kilograms. How do you deal with that mental side of having to look yourself in the mirror, even though everyone should know that oh, it's just going to be temporary. It's a lot easier, especially with muscle memory, to put back on size. But how did you deal with that whole mental side of knowing that you're almost starting from step one again?
Well, I was actually kind of excited. As soon as I left the hospital, it was holy shit, I can start over and I could, fulfill my dream in a different way. But I knew starting from square one, it was going to be tough. But, even just stepping foot back into the gym, being able to, bicep curl 2 kilos, it felt good. It felt
That to
good.
me is
I
the most
wasn't really
depressing thing. When you're only doing 2 kilograms and you're oh my God, I used to be doing so much. That happened to me too. And it happens to me now as I've lost some size where I'm oh my God, I used to be able to do so much more. That was a huge thing for me myself.
with me generally, I always wear baggy stuff just because I like to, stay focused. Sometimes I have my hoodie on and, just getting it done, get in, get out. So when I got back in to the gym, it was kind of just a really nice relief moment. I didn't really look at myself in the mirror. It was just kind of I just want to get stronger again. I want to build back, what I lost. And if anything, it actually made me get better, 2 steps ahead. So it was really more of a special moment, something that, it taught me a lot. It really did.
Well, and if I'm being completely honest, I wouldn't have even been able to tell that you were, that you lost any of it from talking to you now, because it does look like, you put on some size from the last time we've had you on. But what was that like to sort of see your body supercharge as well? Like you said, you put on so much weight this season of, just size back on. What was that like to see your body evolve that quickly again?
So I've been working with my coach, David DiMasquita. So he lives in the US. He's an amazing coach. He's been supporting me throughout my whole health journey. So, even just doing my check-ins, it was like a constant reminder for me that, I can't wait to build the size. And, he was always reminding me yes, Ariel, we're going to get there. We're going to push you. We just need to get your health back in check and just to make sure that you're on the right path, not only physically, but also mentally. I think it's such an important, part, about this journey for me was also just the mental aspect of it all. But just doing my check-ins was that reminder that really helped me and pushed me further. So Yeah.
Did you have to change things up at all with your nutrition because of your being sick and stuff like that? I know some people sometimes, it really restricts things nutrition wise.
Well, I guess, when I was quite unwell, I wasn't eating either way, so I lost a lot of weight. But, putting back 16 kilos this year, especially with muscle memory and just filling back up my body with the nutrients that it lost, I guess my body kind of adapted to, the calorie intake each week. We would increase my calories. We weren't doing much cardio, but then again, like my lungs was just not coping. So trying to, increase the cardio just little bits at a time. It wasn't like, drastic changes. It was just, taking it week by week.
Well, and you mentioned still that it still affects you to this day. What are some symptoms that you still carry with to this day?
So I'm still recovering from it actually. So I still have pneumonia in my system. It hasn't gone away for a
You
very
put on
long time,
16
but
kilograms of size, even with pneumonia. That's not something that you hear every day.
um, I guess I've got a really good coach. But just it was yeah, it was it takes a lot like to just, kind of remind myself like, oh, like I've come this far. But just to see the changes and if anything, like just to grow bigger. I think that's kind of like my main focus now. When I was in the hospital, I was, still looking at the female bodybuilders like, Christina Mendoza and like Chelsea Dion, just looking up to those girls. And I'm like, like I can't wait to hit the gym and just to, lift some heavy again.
What's some area of your body that you think that you've improved on the most since we had you on last year?
Ooh, probably more so my upper body. So when I was competing in wellness, I guess it kind of demotivated me a little bit because I really love training my upper body, and I just, deep down, I was like, I just want to do what I love. So, making that decision was such a big step for me, and especially for my coach, because we had to completely transform my program and, my eating style and everything like that. So, building that size, I definitely feel like, putting back the upper body program, it was such a relief for me, and I started to absolutely love my training again. So it was such a good feeling. So definitely increase my upper body size, which I'm very happy about, but definitely would love to get bigger.
Well, and legs are always the forbidden fruit too, anyway. So that's always gonna be work in progress. That's a work in progress for everybody in the brand, especially like me being 6'3". That's something that I'm never gonna really achieve myself. So it's just a dream for me. But I mean, like you said, you've had sort of not just a life altering, like a life changing experience. How has this impacted your priorities in life, or how has this impacted just your overall wellness of yourself?
I guess just kind of looking at the bigger picture. I mean, I wasn't able to walk at the time. I wasn't able to stand. So just doing those, daily things has really pushed me into just to wanting more. Just to take care of myself a little bit better, sticking to a routine, and just to be more cautious. Just to be more cautious with my health. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I would on if that had happened to you with first of all, more willpower to you for going back to the gym because I'm one of those people where if that happened to me, I probably would still be, still be like skinny and small and stuff again, just because like I'd be like, okay, I gotta start over again. This is BS. But so again, that's the whole bodybuilder mentality, that it is. But yeah, it is just insane what you've been through. And like I said, I had no idea until she messaged me like a week before we had this podcast. So again, that just goes to show how good her coach is. Like she said, if everyone in the general public was just like, oh, it looks like she might be taking a year off, and it's like, well, there's a reason for that. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to take my time with building, the size that I want until I'm satisfied. And then I'll think about stepping on stage. Like, I know I get like a lot of people messaging me saying, oh, like, I can't wait for you to get shredded. But it's kind of like in the back of my mind, it's like, I don't want to. I want to, focus more on my health, focus on building some, like just healthy weight. Because, when I'm shredded, I guess I get a lot more sick. So I'm not really looking at that right
I was
now.
gonna say your immune system isn't at its strongest when you're about to step on
Definitely
stage
not.
for a
It
show. So
still isn't that strong, so but it's definitely building up some immunity to it.
well, yeah, I would hope so. Yeah. So again, I again, I don't want to jinx it right now, but when we talk to her a year from now, hopefully, yeah, she will be back and good. But I just realized I might jinx it right now, so I'm gonna knock on wood right now just to make sure that nothing horrible has happened. But I mean, anything else significant happened in your life over that year other than the COVID? Anything else happen?
Well, a lot of things, I guess one thing after the other, kind of got to the point where I was so impatient I didn't know what was going to come next. But I guess during the time when I was going through all of that, I actually thought that I had brain damage, especially with the lack of oxygen. So I went and got some brain scans, but it turns out it was just extreme vertigo. I had it for about 3 months. I didn't know when it was going to end. And it didn't really help when I was trying to train because I just consistently felt, like I was on a boat. I felt like I didn't know like what I was doing half the time. So, but I guess, just taking it week by week and seeing how my body adapts, especially with, like my new program, the food intake and all that kind of stuff. So, definitely a learning curve for me, but it's definitely made me a lot mentally stronger, I would say.
Well, you've been slurring your words a little bit, so you might want to get that brain check again. No, I'm just kidding. But no, but I mean, yeah, that would be the scariest thing for me. Like if I thought that I had brain damage. I have never had vertigo in my life. Again, knock on wood just in case. But that just, I mean, yeah, the year that you've had and I'm gonna have another guest on later this week too, who also lost a lot of weight and had to deal with some health issues. So that to me is just the most inspiring how you're able to, keep it going and do that. And like you said, now you're focused on not bodybuilding now. You're just focused really on just building size and building strength. Please tell me that with your, like we talked about nutrition before, but like please tell me that you're able to eat just like a little, that you're able to enjoy yourself a little bit more with maybe a few more cheat meals and just a little bit more variety.
Well, I got my taste buds back, which is really cool. Yeah, so it's been a couple months where I couldn't taste anything, I was just eating what I was told, but
Is that really that bad though? Because for me, like that'll be the first time that I'd eat like broccoli and stuff like that too. If I didn't have any taste buds, I'd be like, okay, now I can finally eat the stuff that's good for me that I just don't like.
like I was just focusing on my training and my food intake, and I didn't really care what I was eating because I mean, to me, food is fuel. And it wasn't really for taste. So, just the normal chicken and rice, fish and rice, big bowl of oats in the morning, with some fruit. So I kind of have that like variety, but it kind of sucked just not being able to taste. But now that I have it back, I guess everything just tastes really different.
Oh, so does it taste different from when it did before you had? Does it taste different from when previously you were able to taste it?
Yeah, it just tastes different. But I mean, like, I've been eating like the same foods for a while. So I'm kind of used to it. So I guess it just, yeah, I don't really know. But like when I do taste something different that I haven't had like in a very long time, like a burger, I guess it tastes really good.
Yeah, I'd hope so, but I mean, we are talking to you in Australia, and I mean, they had some big lockdowns and stuff like that. How did you still do the training with all? Because Australia had some of the strictest on the planet, really. Because I remember talking to some Aussies, like last November, I think it was actually. So right when you were getting sick, but like they were still in lockdown when everyone else had already been out for like a year now. Did that impact you at all, or were you still like after a while? Did it just open up and everything was fine for you?
Nothing really affected me, to be honest. I was so in the zone of my training and, sticking by what I like told to do that I wasn't thinking about what was going on in the rest of the world. I was just focused on, not stressing and, sticking by my routine, and getting what I need to get done. So, no, it did not affect me at all. I had a home gym at the time as well. So that was really useful. I guess, I just took it day by day and it didn't affect me one bit. No.
Those home gyms, I think that everyone now has at least some form of exercise equipment in their house, at least a little bit. So hopefully everyone's prepared for the next time if anything rears its head around or anything like that. Because yeah, that
Definitely.
was home gyms were definitely the savior there. But just the one thing that I've been finding so fascinating about just talking about all these health and wellness guests and everything is just how the sport has changed even from the last year I had you on. I mean, like the Arnold just announced that it's not having fair competitors anymore, and it just seems to be ever changing. What has been your reaction like? Just seeing this sport change year on a yearly basis, especially with the dramatic change that it's had this last year.
I mean, I wasn't really focusing on like the negative of the sport. I was more focusing on such a positive within the sport, and especially with female bodybuilding. So, whilst I was in hospital, I was looking at those girls and, it just motivated me to wanting to get bigger. So within the sport, I've just seen a lot of positive, outcome within like the new female bodybuilding that has come through. I wasn't really focusing on any of the negative, no.
That's the Australian in her, everyone, where it's always just that must be a thing that I've heard when I've talked to too many Australians. Where they tend to not really care. They tend to see the light and things other than that. Whereas it's a little bit different. So I should have written that down in my notes before I had her on, saying like, okay, she's Australian, so that she won't even recognize what's going on, but with other things. But no, that is. That is a great way to look at things. And I'm only really aware of the negative things because I have guests that bring it up all the time. And then I'm like, oh,
Okay.
okay, then we got to really
I'm not really aware of it, so I think I'm missing something.
yeah, don't ever do your own bodybuilding podcast then, because like you will be forced to listen to like everyone's negative
Soak in
views on
all of
stuff
that
too.
information.
It's too much. My brain can only run at a certain capacity, so that's that is the difference there at least. But just with this whole lifestyle and everything, I've asked you this before, but I mean, when it comes down to the way that you look, I mean, a lot of people just have these different reactions to it. It's like being a mini celebrity. When you walk outside, you are going to get stares, you are going to get looks. I also like to talk about, like the positive encounters now. Is there one encounter that you had outside when you were like maybe your size was a lot more visible? Is there any one encounter that you remember more than anything else of like something positive coming out of it?
There was actually, I do have one. Well, I've got a few, but I'll just say this one. So I was heading into the gym, and there was this guy that parked right next to me, and he complimented on my car. But then, as soon as I, took my jumper off because it was a really hot day, he was like, "Holy, like you've actually got some size on you." He was quite small as well, so like it was sweet, but like he complimented on my physique, and like I was just saying, thank you, that's really nice of you. And then he wanted to do more of like a muscle comparison. So he started to, he's like, let me see those quads. So I flexed my quads, and then he flexed his, and mine was a little bit, more.
I'd never ask that of anyone because it's a losing effort for me. Yeah, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
And then he got me to flex my biceps, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'll flex my biceps. Then he flexed his, and then he's like, oh, now like I feel like putting my jumper back on. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
So we did earlier now because I told her about how I lost like 20 pounds this last season, and then so yeah, it gets to a point where you're just like, yeah, it's a losing effort there, everyone. So there.
But I guess it's quite a nice feeling knowing that people are starting to take notice of me putting on the size. Just like especially in the gym, there are people that are coming up to me saying like, you've gained so much size since November, like good on you. It's a really nice feeling. Just because sometimes I don't see it myself because I'm more focused on, getting everything done that I don't exactly look at myself. So when people do take notice and they do compliment and, come up to me and, congratulate me, it's such a nice feeling. It really, yeah, it means a lot to me.
That brings me back to the college days when, yeah, that was a great feeling for me. Now, I'm not getting that as much now, but, if anyone out there who's live in my neighborhood might be listening to this, a nice compliment every once in a while wouldn't be the worst thing for me. But yeah, that is, I mean, and that really can change someone's entire day, just that one compliment. So if anyone out there, like if you see someone and you want to give them a compliment, just do it. Now, obviously don't be weird about it, which I do have to remind people because in this day and age, for some reason, that's still a thing that we have to.
I actually really like the compliments. I mean, sometimes I get people asking me my weight, how much
Oh,
I
I'm talking about the
lift.
people that like come up and like feel your arms without asking and stuff like that. Like those type of encounters where they want to compliment you. It's like
Oh, okay.
be
Okay.
civil out there, people. Come on now.
But it's also a nice feeling when, you head off to the gym, but also know that you're getting stronger as well. So like just taking these months to, really build back the strength that I lost. I guess it's also a really nice feeling within itself, not just the size of, my growth, but also the strength.
Yeah, just yeah, the strength too is a huge. So have you improved on your lifts since then, or what are some of your best? What are some of your favorite lifts that you do? Then I didn't ask this last time because I was like, I don't want to be the typical bodybuilder podcast, but it's like, hey, she just said she's focused on strength right now, so I got to ask.
So at the moment, I'm just really loving enjoying training my chest and my shoulders.
I
Probably my
was gonna
favorite.
mention that. Good God, Ariel, like that might be the one you improved on the most. I was like, that's ridiculous.
So when I was unwell and I was really small, I was probably chest pressing about 5 kilos. Um, Now I'm chest pressing 30 kilo dumbbells aside, which isn't too bad. I'd love to get a lot stronger though.
Well, it just looks like you're doing like 1,000 push-ups a day too. So hey, there's at least that. But again, I didn't want to ask that question because it's just gonna make me feel bad about myself too and everything like that. So I take it with a grain of salt though. But yeah, that is that is great. And let's be honest. People talk about with bodybuilders, especially how you go to the gym not for the strength, you go there for the look. But it's like it's always nice to have the strength on top of that look as well, because you can look like you could bench, like 400 pounds, but like if you actually could bench it as well as looking like it, I mean that's a good thing to have as well.
I mean, I train with the baggiest clothes you could think of, and I just have my heavy metal music on and I'm ready to go.
Is there a go-to song that you have?
Ooh, there's some go-to bands. I really love Monuments at the moment. I love Northlane as well. Um, Currents is a really good band. Um, you probably don't know of them.
I am as old school. I
There's
mean,
a
I'll
few.
have my Metallica, I'll have my,
I love
Slayer and
Metallica.
stuff like that, but yeah.
Trivium, love them. So I even made like a Spotify like playlist for all of my gym tunes. Full heavy metal, absolutely love it.
I
Yeah.
always, yeah, I do that. And then if I go out on my walks, you got to have some easy listening music as I get towards the end so that I'm able to sort of relax and,
Okay.
calm down a little bit. But yeah, that heavy metals. The only problem is that it can get you too psyched up, where it's happened to me too, where it's like it gets you too intense, where then you're like, I'm going to max out now. And then your body's telling you, no, you're not. So,
Heavy metal is actually quite soothing for me. I don't know why, but
that's a sign of a psychopath, everyone. So, just heavy metal soothes me.
that.
Yeah, that's like, no, I'm not. But I mean, like, I can see how it can be soothing. It's not really soothing to me, but I can see how it would be just because sometimes just having that, like, I don't know. It's hard to explain to everyone.
Even
Again,
just
with,
the progressive metal, I find it quite soothing. So that's kind of my go-to,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah, either that or I just, I live next to a lot of lakes too. So you hear the loons going crazy. And that to me is like the best sound ever. So that is soothing music, to my ears as well. But I mean, I start asking these questions now after about my 500th guest, just shows how good of a host I actually am. That took me that long to really come up with them. But when it comes to show day, what is your favorite thing about show day, and what is your least favorite thing about show day?
My favorite thing about show day is definitely the hype of, you know, everyone just being around all the people that really love and support the sport. That's definitely my favorite. Also just stepping on stage, even though like you can't really see the crowd as well, I just really love the fact that I'm able to showcase my hard work on stage. So that's definitely the highlight. My least favorite, probably, ooh, eating after. I think the only reason that is because I suffer a lot with digestive issues, which is getting fixed, but it definitely takes a lot of time. So my coach is actually giving me a protocol to support my digestive tract, especially whilst I eat. So definitely just the eating after, because I don't know how my body's going to react after show day. So that's definitely very pressuring. Hence why I always go back to my normal food after.
Yeah, that eating after is really tricky too, especially when it comes to some of the people that could put on like like 40 pounds within like a week or something like that, because it's a slippery slope once you indulge yourself.
Definitely a
You
lot of
want to
water weight.
that
Definitely
too,
a lot of water weight.
that too. Well, I got to go back to because I just thought of this right now. It's like, so with your pneumonia that you have, is there anything that you can do to fix it, or is it just something where the doctors just told you like with time, hopefully it will go away, or like because to still have that after I'm trying to do the math here, like almost a year, like that is insane to me.
I mean, it definitely takes a lot of time, but my coach has definitely provided a lot of supplements. So I actually have like a whole stash of like supplements to support. Um, My
You got a
health,
whole pharmacy back there, basically.
yeah, literally. But definitely, some of the supplementation that I take supports my digestion, but it also supports just my overall health, just to make sure that I don't get sick so easily. But I guess I've had a little bit of bad luck to the point where, like if someone's sick, I'll get sick instantly. So I guess it's more isolation than anything, which kind of sucks, but it still keeps me on track. I'm still doing what I got to do, but it's just I have to be very cautious.
I mean, I will use you as an example to people who just talk about like I'm talking to a 23-year-old who is in like the best shape of her life and still had that happen to her where it's like you can't guarantee yourself safety from really anything in this world. So I mean, it's,
That's very true.
it
Yeah,
I mean, obviously you can mitigate some of the chances of having it or something bad happen to you, but it's like at the end of the day, anything can happen. But I mean, that is insane because I honestly thought like with a lot of the Bibles I had on that most of them would be, in the safer group because they're in the healthier side and they don't have, like all the stuff that also, might the comorbidities that might, impact it. But it just proves that, yeah, there's always going to be a little bit of an outlier that's, you're never completely safe from anything. But we're talking about this. I do have to tell you about this though, because this stuff right here is like when we're talking about like supplement, this isn't a supplement, but this is like my cocaine basically. It's Crystal Light, it's fruit punch. You put it in your water, it's 10 calories. Oh my God, Ariel. I'm gonna be drinking that like a king tonight. I mean, it is the greatest thing ever. So if anyone, I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that, but I do have to bring it up because I literally have like 15 packets of them right next to me right now that I got from a gas station last night, and we're talking about like supplements and stuff like that. And that is my version of a supplement. Basically, it's just the powder that you put in water. It's like Kool-Aid basically, but it's I'm gonna start drooling now even
sometimes I
talking to
put
you.
like BCAAs in my water just to slam it down. It's got a little bit of vitamins in there, so if like I can't get the water in because at one point water tasted like metal, like it tasted terrible. So I was just putting some like BCAAs in my water just to slam the water down because it was too hard. I couldn't do it.
Well, you're gonna hate me when I say this, but my hometown, so Bloomington, Minnesota, we have been voted like in the last 10 years, like 3 times, the best natural water in the entire country. Like the best taste, the best like cleanness of it and stuff. Like it literally just I can't describe how good it tastes better than any bottled water I've ever had, basically, or any like it's ridiculous. I think we just got lucky where we live like right on top of like a reserve of water that's just like pure. And then you go to other cities, even like 5 minutes down the road, and yeah, like it has that metal taste or it might have other tastes where it's like, I do not realize how lucky I am. And it's the funniest thing when I talk to people like who go to gas stations and they buy water. It's like, wait, why do you do that? And they're like, oh, because I don't live in Bloomington. That's why I don't, buy. So it is a blessing. So when you mention that, yeah, I do have to bring that up just so I can because everyone, I'm in huge tremendous pain in my back right now. So I'm just spitballing it right here, everyone. And I hopefully it's not that visible to everyone. But yeah, I'm just getting through this, everyone. We're plugging through this. This is for all the fans out there and all and everything like that. I'm doing this for you. And I was honestly thinking about just lying down, like stomach first on my bed and trying to do this where like I didn't move then, just so like I'd be like, okay, we're here talking, just like hold the mic. But I was like, no, we gotta, at least sit down. So I'm doing this for all the fans out there again, like I said. But Ariel, another question that I've been taking way too long to ask. And I apologize to everyone out there. It took me this long, but I think this to myself every single time I have a health and fitness guest on. Even though I have been in the lifestyle myself, I've never competed or anything like that. But I just that little human voice in the back of my mind says, why do they do this to themselves? Why do they put themselves through this? I see that pharmacy that you have behind you, and I'm like, why do they do this to themselves? I mean, obviously, I understand it because I've talked to so many of them, but just the human nature in me, just deep down in the back of my mind, is just like, why do they do this to themselves? I bet you still hear that all the time. How do you like to respond to that? Because, you know, it is something that a lot of people do not understand, like why people go to this extreme. But what is your answer like that when you hear people maybe come up to you and say, like, Arrow, why do you do this to yourself?
I mean, I grew up in this sport and it's pretty much all I know. And, I've always looked up to big female bodybuilders to the point where that's all I think about. And if someone comes up to me and, tells me, why do you do this to yourself? I think it's a compliment within itself because in a sense it's not normal. And I don't like normal, if that makes sense. And I love doing something different, something, that people will just look at and be like, oh, like, how do I put it? It's just different. And, you know, because I grew up with it, it's like being in this sport and, looking up to all of these girls, it's kind of just reminded me, maybe I can do this too. Maybe I can look like that as well. But I just really love the sport, and it's actually helped me push through with my sickness that, these things of being sick is only temporary, and there are so many big outcomes from it. And it's really motivated me to the point where it's like it's so normal to me, and I don't see myself doing anything else, for the next couple of years. And I just solely want to focus on building size, getting bigger, stepping on stage, maybe and figure out women's physique, or maybe even one day female bodybuilding. So, I guess it's just, help me push through my days, and I don't really see myself doing anything else.
In an ideal world, if we talk to you a year from now, not if we talk to you, when we talk to you a year from today, where would you like to be at size wise? Like, what would be the end goal that you'd be like, okay, I did what I wanted to do this year?
Kind of excites me when you say, like, how much size do you want to put on? I think about it every single day. I'm currently sitting about 74 to 75 kilos at the moment. I would love to be within the 80s range, like 85
Screw
to
that. We're
90.
gonna go up to 100, Ariel. We're gonna go total beast. We're gonna go
I don't think
unrecognizable. You're gonna be like 250 pounds. Let's do it.
I don't think my body could handle 100 kilos, but I definitely think like 85 would be the ultimate goal for me.
I talked to one guest who was about your height, and like she's like, I think the equivalent of like 100 kilos she got in her off season, and I was like, she barely fit in the screen and stuff like that. Like even talked to me, and I was like, I don't get how your body can support that, but I mean, hey, it's people don't understand the body. The human body was not meant to get as big as a lot of bodybuilders would like to. So yeah, it is a struggle bus at certain times when it comes to that. But yeah, 85. Hey, I'm gonna write that down right now so that next time I do have Ron, I'll be like, okay, we had 85 kilograms, and she'll be like 86, and I'll be like, what, screw you. So that's
I'm
normal.
excited. I'm excited. Just even, pushing the food. I guess eating is the hardest part for me right now, just pushing the food. Um, but I mean, the training is probably my favorite at the moment. But yeah, just eating the food, it gets very repetitive. Sometimes I guess, force feeding myself, which is probably not the best idea, but gotta gotta do what you gotta do.
Are there any tricks that you do to gulp down that last bit of food? Because a lot of people don't understand that is a struggle that a lot of times isn't talked about. Just having to eat that amount of food. Do you ever like do anything specifically to make it so that you're able to swallow? Because I've had times where I'm so full and I still have to eat something. Like that is the struggle for me that isn't talked about really.
So with me and my coach, when we do check-ins, we literally have like a list that I kind of, go through. And if there are foods that don't work for me and it's just hard to get down, then I guess, we can implement different foods. But with the food choices that support and help my digestion, that are easy to consume, it's a lot easier to eat than having foods that don't really work for me. So, having a lot of rice, chicken, fish, oats, those foods work really well for me. So, definitely just choosing the right food choices to get it down.
What particular type of fish do you like most?
Salmon would definitely be my favorite.
Okay, because you're talking to a Minnesotan where we have the land of 10,000 lakes up here. It's actually like 19,000 lakes, but literally we have walleye here, we have trout, we have all that stuff. And yeah, so every time that I go out and go fishing, I taught these kids the circle of life. I took them out earlier this summer and I taught them how to skin their own fishes, how to gut their own fishes after they caught them. It was not pretty. Some of them really didn't like it, but hey, it's like you gotta learn. The neighbor's parents actually appreciate that. They're like, "Thank you for teaching him that." So, I mean, giving kids knives is probably not the best thing that I've ever done in my life, but hey, no one got stabbed, so that's a compliment, I guess. On my great parental instincts, I guess. So, who knows what the future has in store for me for that? This is becoming a different type of podcast, but hey, like I said, I'm in extreme pain right now, even talking to her. So, you know what? This is like This is great. I didn't even think, honestly, I was going to be able to get through this. So I'm glad that we are now like 5 minutes away from me just being able to, just lie on my back
Crash
and
on your bed.
oh my god, Ariel, don't even get me started on that. Like, don't even taunt me like that. That is just ridiculous. But I mean, and one thing that I also did want to talk to you about, because I don't know if we talked about this last time, is that like with the changes that happened in bodybuilding, I mean, so many people died last year. Last year was just like a watershed year when it came to a lot of people just realizing the extremes about the sport and what people go through, just in order to maintain and achieve this look. What was that like for you as someone, like you were an outsider really basically because you were in the hospital and you were looking at that, but like as someone who has competed and has been in the sport for a while, like what was that like to see sort of all of that come to light in the mainstream where a lot of people just understood now how extreme this sport can be?
I mean, it's hard to, explain because we don't exactly know their backstories. So
That
it
too,
could
with
have,
everything that happened, like there is some shady stuff there where it was just like if you were to add like the amount of people that had stuff happen to them, it was vastly more than your average year. But like there was some stuff that I agree on where like in their background could have maybe impacted it. Yeah.
I wouldn't really necessarily say that it's shady. I think it's just to the point where, like, yes, it's really extreme, but they could have had, specific health issues that they were dealing with themselves. And I guess they pushed past that because they really love this sport and they really just wanted to continue by it. So I don't exactly know what to say because I don't exactly know what their health was like and, how, like, what state they were in.
I mean, the only thing I can really say is this last year proved that like you as a competitor need to do your research basically. Like do your research, do everything. Don't just when the coach says jump, don't say how high. Like do your own research. Make sure that because there have been some stories I've heard where like people literally just have their mouths open and their coach just like pours stuff in. Like they don't ask questions. They don't do that. So it's like yeah, just be prepared. Obviously, do your blood work, get all that stuff done. Sometimes people skip that, and it's like hey, you can find out stuff underlying health conditions even from just doing your blood work in general. So it's like
Yeah.
do that,
I mean, with my coach, he gets me to do my blood work pretty much every 3 months. So this is literally just to, check how my gut is going. Sometimes I do like gut health checks as well. But I also get a lot of blood tests just to ensure that my vitamins are in check, to make sure that I'm not lacking in any nutrients. So,
all right, well, this is how we prove if Ariel is like an absolute psychopath or not. This is my one question that I ask people where I was like, okay, there might be something wrong with them. When you get your blood drawn, are you one of those people that looks at the needle and like looks at the blood being drawn, or do you look away?
um, I mean, I've had my blood drawn so much to the point where I just look at it.
Like you can get used to it, but like I'm one of those people where it's like I cannot like if I see that now I can see someone else get that done to him, but like when it's me, like I always have to look away. Like I can't. Yeah. So
I mean, when I was in the hospital, I was getting my blood drawn every single day for 2 weeks. But I just didn't care anymore because I knew that it was just them checking on my health. So that's kinda how I look at it now. It's just, it is what it is.
whereas I have a handful of freak friends that are doctors and they love that crap where they're like, oh my god, like let me see everything that's and it's
Especially when
like
they find, like, a really nice vein.
so that's the thing too. Like I was you got me to it. So like being a bodybuilder, especially as you get leaner, you do get a lot veinier and it's a lot. So do doctors just love you then? Basically, we're like, oh my god, you are so
They
easy.
did.
Yeah.
They did.
And now, as I'm getting my back massage thing to work. I love to talk about massages now with bodybuilders. How often do you get a massage? Because right now, even saying the word massage is making the pain like 1% less worse. So I'm just going to keep saying it in my head as you're answering this. But how often do you do that? Because that is an unsung hero, I think, in the sport of bodybuilding is massages.
Oh, well, I do have a really nice, partner that gives me massages. So that's great. I also have, my friend EJ, so he does a lot of my work when, like, my back is in pain or, my hips aren't in line, so he does a lot of that. I also get, like, a lot of needling done, but I definitely need to go a lot more often just because I can get quite sore in particular areas, and I just definitely need to go more often.
If I rate someone based on like 100, like people, they always do like that stupid like beauty scale of like 0 to 10, but I don't do a beauty scale. I do like overall like on 100. If you're a masseuse, that is plus 10. That's plus 10 on the 100 rage, okay? Because that is an unsung art. I would love to have like a partner where I just wouldn't even have to go to a masseuse and get that. I have not gotten a
It's
massage,
great.
in so long, but yeah, that is, oh my god, I'm almost gonna drool right now. It's not even about food, so that's something that rarely ever happens here. But a question that I asked you last time, and I'll ask you again, is if someone were to walk up to you and say, Ariel, we made the decision. You can change one thing about the sport of bodybuilding, and everyone would go along with it. What would be one thing that you'd like to see changed?
Oh, I don't actually think they have female bodybuilding here in Australia. So I'll have to double check on that, but I don't think they do. So if not, then definitely to add in female bodybuilding into the category.
Wait, so they just don't even have it there? You don't think?
I'll have to double check, but I don't think so. I think it only goes up to women's physique.
Wow.
Yeah.
But if
I think it'll be so like I think it'll motivate me a lot more just to see a lot more bigger girls, getting up on that stage. But that's probably the one thing that I'll definitely have to double check, but I don't think there is a female bodybuilding here in Australia.
if I am being completely honest, like I don't even know if there is actually like a female
Don't think
bodybuilder from
so.
Australia. Actually,
I
like
don't think,
like
yeah,
a
I haven't
competitor, like
seen
I don't even know. Yeah.
the most, like the highest level that I've seen was women's physique. So
Yeah. Yeah, because I've talked to two women's physique competitors from Australia, but yeah, I've never talked to a bodybuilder from Australia. So I don't know. That might be the reason why that is. But yeah, that would be one thing that honestly, I'd like to see, more appreciation for that side of the sport. Because like as things are closing it down on multiple shows, that would be one thing that yeah, absolutely. And Ariel, as someone that's gone through so much in this off season, I mean, this last season, it's just again, it's incredible. But what advice you have for people that are looking to just get started working out? Because for so many people, just taking that first step is the hardest thing for them.
I would definitely do your research on, searching for a good coach that knows their knowledge, not only like, on the outside, but within, especially with females when it comes to, gut health and digestive tract and, just overall health. I think, having a good, healthy starting point is so important, when you're starting up within bodybuilding or even just lifting in general. Just having a healthy start is the most important. So I would definitely recommend, reaching out, doing your research, even just listening to like some podcasts or just like some YouTube videos of, people within the industry that are very cautious of health. So I would highly recommend doing that. Try not to, push anything too far and just to start slow. It is a very slow process and it does take time.
Too many people go full on Rambo where they just go, I'm going to work out for 3 hours a day for like a week, and then their body is just dead by then, and then they quit and give up. Where it's like, no, you gotta take your baby steps as well. And before we wrap things up, I mean, there's been a lot of talk about coaches, and I love to ask because everyone's opinion is different on this. What, in your opinion, makes a good coach? Because coaching is like teaching, where you can have one teacher that might scold the kid, and the kid needs the scolding, and they actually like it makes the person better. And then there's other cases where if you scold someone, they just break down and stuff. It really just it's sort of like teaching, I like to say, with coaching. But there's so many times I've talked to people where they have a coach for 1 year and then they get a different coach because it didn't work out. And then there's other cases where they've had a coach for a decade, and that is a rare thing. But in your personal opinion, what makes a coach good?
I think communication is key. So if you and your coach have a really good, friendship going on, as well as, with it being your job, I think it's super important just to have that communication for the athlete to ensure that, they're telling their coach exactly what's going on in their life so that the coach can get a really good understanding. And I think, like with me and David, we have such a good friendship going because I'm always honest with him. I'm always telling him what's on my mind, what's going on with my body, how I'm feeling. Even if it's not a check-in day, like I'm just messaging him almost every single day, just letting him know like how I'm feeling or if I'm hitting like a new PB. So definitely communication is key, but not only that, also having a coach that is very cautious on health and supplementation, just to ensure that, their client is getting the adequate nutrients that they need and getting their blood work done. Um,
Yeah, that is the biggest thing when it comes to just caring about the client and stuff. I've absolutely heard that. And I mean, before we wrap things up, is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Definitely my coach, David Demasquita. He's been an absolute lifesaver. Also, my partner, who has been such a supportive, person in my life that I can't thank enough. Those two have been my absolute, guardian angels.
It takes a village. I mean, yeah, this is not some. I've had some people that do this all by themselves. More power to them, but that's definitely not the average thing. And this is, yeah, it does take a lot of people. But again, Ariel, I cannot thank you for coming back on, even in my just pure delirium that I'm in right now, where I'm just spitballing
Thank
it
you
here,
so much
everyone.
for
But
having me,
absolutely.
even in
So
the state that you're in.
I'm gonna embarrass myself even more just by saying this. So before I had you on, I did use this thing for like 45 minutes, and I did have it. I did have it right here on my back. It was running so fast that it burned part of the chair because of the friction that I had it down. So like part of the chair is now like burnt a little bit because like I was like, oh, it feels a little hot back there, and then I realized that like yeah, there was a little bit not smoke, but like it was just so much friction, like part of the chair melted basically where it's So again, everyone be careful with this. Don't be like my mistakes, but again, everyone, go and check out Ariel. I'll leave a link to her Instagram page down below. Buyer beware. You will get inspired to get off that damn couch and stop eating all those Twinkies. But again, Ariel, an absolute delight to talk to you again, and I cannot wait to have you on again next year.
Thank you so much for having me, and I can't wait to showcase how I will be looking within the next time that we
I'm already
do
dreading it, everyone.
a
It's gonna be embarrassing even more. But hey, I do this. I do this for the fans. But hey, I'll put up with it for that. But again, everyone, thank you so much for listening. And this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing off. Have a great day, everyone.